You ever wake up to the kind of morning that hits you like a frying pan before your feet even touch the floor? Because that's exactly how my story kicks off, phone buzzing, like it's got a grudge dragging me out of the one decent sleep I'd had all week. And I'm thinking it's just Mike, my old buddy, looking to mess with me about fantasy football or some dumb bet we'd made. But then I listen to the voicemails, three of them, each one louder than the last. He's yelling something about my 28-foot yacht floating out into Harbor Bay with a bunch of strangers on board, and I'm just sitting there not sure if I'm still dreaming or if I'm about to end up in some Dateline episode. So I stumble to the window, rubbing the sleep from my eyes, and swear to you I see it. My pride and joy, the boat I spent 5 years and all my vacation pay fixing up, just sailing off like it's got its own agenda, and at the wheel as if the universe decided to play a sick joke. Is Susan, the same Susan who's been running the Lakeside Community Association like her personal kingdom since her divorce went sideways. She's got this big floppy hat on sunglasses that look like she robbed a movie star, and she's waving at me, grinning, blasting music, champagne in one hand like she's queen of the waterfront. My blood pressure shot up so fast I thought my ears would pop. Now let me back up a sec. Susan and we've never really seen eye to eye. Ever since she demanded I cut down the willow tree in my yard, claimed it blocked her $1 million sunrise view from her deck, I knew she had it out for me. But this, taking my boat, that's a new level of crazy. And it wasn't just her. She had her whole HOA board up there laughing, clinking glasses, using my fishing rods as props for their little party. I actually stood there half-dressed, watching them like I'd wandered into the wrong movie. And I just kept thinking only Susan could take HOA power tripping to literal open water. See, Susan's the type who fines you if your mailbox is a shade off or if you dare to put a garden gnome in your yard. Standards, she calls it. Control, if you ask anybody who's had to deal with her. I mean, after her ex left, it's like she decided the only way to fill that hole in her life was to run our little community like it was Buckingham Palace. Power vacuum. She filled it, trust me. Anyway, instead of losing my mind right there on the dock, which, don't get me wrong, I did what any slightly jaded HOA-worn homeowner would do. I pulled out my phone and started filming. Mike shows up 10 minutes later laughing so hard he nearly drops his coffee and slaps me on the back like I'm hosting some weird floating bachelor party. Renting out the yacht for weddings, now he snickers loud enough for Susan to hear. And she doesn't even flinch. She raises her glass, my glass by the way, and yells, "Bringing culture to this harbor, finally." If you could have seen the look on my wife Lisa's face, she just appears at my side. "Cool as you please," whispers. "Want me to call the sheriff or the harbor patrol?" And for the first time, I see Susan hesitate just for a split second. But I tell Lisa, let's wait. Let's see how far she wants to take this. Because deep down I know the more rope Susan has, the more she's going to tangle herself up. Call it years of surviving HOAs, sometimes the best revenge is letting the world see exactly who's running the circus. Pretty soon, neighbors start wandering over with lawn chairs and snacks, turning my front row seat to this yacht heist into a full-blown Saturday morning show. Susan's up there yelling for more champagne barking orders, the music's so loud the seagulls scatter. But you know how karma works, right? As she steers into restricted patrol waters, we see the blue lights flashing, closing in like a movie climax. Harbor Patrol boards her boat. Well, my boat, let's be clear, and you'd think they were busting up some international smuggling ring. Lead officer, big mustache voice like gravel, steps aboard, asks, "Ma'am, are you the owner of this vessel?" Susan, God bless her, doesn't even blink. "I'm temporarily authorized community morale event officer. We're uplifting spirits here." Her board buddies, meanwhile, suddenly find the clouds fascinating. The officer looks over at me. I raise my hand. "Yeah, still paying the insurance last I checked." The dock erupts in laughter and Susan turns the color of a tomato, stammering about idle assets and how I'm sabotaging her leadership. She actually tries to block the cabin, says it's her association duty, and the officer warns her real calm, but you know he means it. And that word detainment just hangs there thick as fog. Two of her board guys mumble something about work, start edging toward the lifeboat. But Susan, oh no, she doubles down, yells that she's being targeted for being a strong woman in charge, threatens lawsuits for harassment. Which is rich considering she once tried to fine Mike for filming a barbecue after dark. A couple more patrol boats show up, and next thing you know, guests are shuffled off the yacht, whispering that she said it was okay. And Susan, she's still clutching the wheel like the ship's going down. It takes two officers to gently pry her loose, reading her rights while she yells that HOA bylaws beat maritime law like she's found some loophole in the universe. I can't even describe the relief quiet solid when they finally let her off. Not gloating, just this feeling of getting my sanity back after months of petty wars. But if you think that's the end of it, you don't know Susan. She's like a movie villain who just refuses to leave the sequel alone. Next morning, my inbox is lit up with HOA emails accusing me of stirring up drama, negligence, defaming a valued community leader. Susan's already spun the whole thing, telling folks she commandeered the yacht to prevent vandalism. Never mind the party trays and sound system she dragged aboard. I sent the patrol report to the board, added a few neighbor videos for flavor, and signed off with, "If protecting my own property is negligence, maybe we need new rules." And that's all it took. Emergency meeting at the clubhouse. Place is packed. People standing in the back, golf carts spilling out onto the lawn. And there's Susan at the front in a red blazer, gavel in hand, ready to hold court like Judge Judy. She starts in voice-trembling tears, just about ready, how she was protecting the spirit of the harbor from joyless tyrants, how this was all twisted by personal vendettas, how she's being persecuted for blazing a trail. And honestly, a few folks even nod. She's a pro at playing the victim. But then it's my turn. I lay out the whole thing. Locks cut, yacht hijacked her own Facebook post about the secret Harbor Fest. And then the cherry on top, Mike's video. The whole room watches Susan clinking glasses, then screaming as patrol cuffs her, "Nobody can keep a straight face." Then out of nowhere, Ethel, sweet retired Ethel, who's been on the board since forever, drops a stack of receipts on the table. Turns out Susan billed the association for the morale event. The champagne, the banners, even the gas. Well, that blows the lid right off. People shouting for her to step down, dredging up old grievances. One guy's yelling about his tacky holiday lights, another about Susan trespassing in his garden last spring. Years of bottled up HOA nonsense just pouring out. And Susan, with nothing left to lose, proposes a motion that every boat docked in Harbor Bay should be shared community property. Eyes, wild, voice cracking. "We'll reclaim what's ours from hoarders like him." The room's one step from a riot. We vote 58-11 to remove her as president. Her gavel literally snaps in half when she slams it down. She storms out threatening lawsuits, Supreme Court, you name it. But I see the shake in her hand, the crack showing. I figure she's done. You know, sunset roll credits. Except 2 nights later, I spot her and her loyalists whispering by the docks, eyeing my yacht. And I'm thinking, no way is she going to try this again. So I install cameras, sensors, a tracker, call it homeowner's paranoia. Friday evening, ping goes my phone. Mike and I crouch behind a bush watching Susan clip my lock, sneak aboard with a fresh batch of wine and a giant banner that reads, "Harbor for all, reclaim our rights." She sets off again, megaphone blaring, leading a mini armada of boats. One of her groupies falls overboard in all the chaos. Now we've got a real emergency. Susan's shouting about kidnapping, patrol boats swarm in, and she's yelling that federal bullies won't silence her, gunning the engine right up until it stalls, and they haul her away again mid-rant. The whole thing goes viral. Harbor hijack, mutiny, the headlines say. Susan's waving conspiracy theories around reporters eating it up. Now there's real fallout charges for theft endangerment, parents angry about their kids being on that boat. And Susan, she goes even bigger flyers for a harbor freedom flotilla, trying to rally anyone who will listen. By the day of her so-called rally, the harbor's a circus. Susan's rented a barge, got protest signs, her megaphone ready. But I'm prepared. I play her own rants over loudspeakers from the dock, so now she's arguing with herself while patrol boats start circling. Her supporters melt away one by one, and as the officers restrain her, that big hat of hers sails off into the bay, kind of poetic, really. That was the final act. Charges stuck association reform, the air finally clears. I sit on the dock with Lisa and Mike as the sun sets, just soaking in the peace, feeling like I finally got my harbor back. But even now, I catch myself thinking, was Susan just power hungry, or was it something sadder? Loneliness, maybe? People can turn petty when they feel powerless. Was justice served, or did we all lose a little something? So you tell me, have you ever tangled with a neighborhood nightmare like this? Was Susan out of line, or did the system set her up to fail? Drop your thoughts below. Share your own stories. Hit that. Like if this hit home, and subscribe. If you want more real-life tales, that'll make you question the folks next door.